Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. It's Teresa here with a layout today for the Color Rush Studio creative team. This is a layout I've created with the January kit for 2024. I've punched two different sizes of hexagons using the pattern papers in the kit. These are all from Simple Stories. And they are winter themed, snow themed pattern papers and products. And these are the two Fiskars punches that I used. I think they're 3/4 of an inch and 1.5 inch. And then I also am going to be using the Heidi Swapp blush shine spray and this Heidi Swapp paint paste. This stencil or silk screen is an old one from Studio Calico. I've also cut some of the word art from one of the pattern papers, and then I also have the embellishments from the January kit handy so that I can pull from those if I want to. I've already pulled some that I think I'll be using. And then, of course, I also am going to use the Feelin' Frosty acrylic piece and some of the snowflakes. And so I've already kind of laid this out on the page with the hexagons the way that I think I want it to go down. But then I'm also going to add some of the mixed media for just a really easy background. I'm using the Heidi Swapp spray and a transparency piece to put the ink or put the color down onto the white cardstock, and just dabbing that around the paper. Remember, when you do that, to put the color down around the edges of where you're going to be putting your elements on your page. Sometimes I've found myself in the past putting the color in the middle, or it ending up being where the elements were going to go and not really showing the way I wanted to. And so this little silk screen, it has little tiny asterisks and stars and dots. And I'm using just the blue to pull some of the blue from the collection. The blush is it really ended up being more like an off-white. I thought it was going to be a little bit more like pink, orange or something. But that's okay. I really did want it just to be really subtle and mostly complement these little stars and asterisks that are gonna, of course, represent snow. And so that's really fun to do. This is a really old silk screen. If you don't have that one, you can probably create a similar little stencil for yourself with your silhouette using some clip art or some just wingbat. What do you call those on the keyboard? The dingbats on your keyboard. So once that dried, I went and had lunch and then came back, and I went ahead and placed all of the hexagons where I thought that they were going to go and how I had them kind of at the beginning of the video. Making video really can be helpful in that way to help you remember how you wanted to arrange your elements. Also notice that I cut out the photo as well in the hexagon shape. I just used something else that I had hexagon shaped and cut it out by hand. It is a photo of our puppy Maisie. She is a 7-month-old yellow lab or white lab, cream lab mix. And so this was her first time really experiencing snow this year. And she absolutely loved it. And that's really what I wanted to document. And I thought that it would be fun just to have a play with these hexagons. For some reason, when I saw that photo of her playing in the snow, she's actually eating all the snow that she could. That's what she wanted to do with it. But I don't know, it just made me feel like it needed to be cut in a hexagon shape. And so that's how this went down. And then also some of the snowflakes are actually hexagon shaped too. And so they kind of fit nicely around those edges, just in, 3 different parts or 3 different places around the page. And then just all of these elements just sort of lead your eye around almost in a circle, to be truthful. And then now that I have everything glued down, I'm kind of looking here to see what I want to back this layout with, because I feel like it needs something on the border to tie in all the colors together and to give it a boundary. Give this page give your eye the limits of the page. And so this little pink diagonal grid, I think that's going to do that really well. It's just one of the nice pinks from the kit. So of course it matches beautifully, and it's subtle. So even though it's a grid, it's going to read as almost a solid with a little bit of texture. And I like that idea. So I'm going to go ahead and trim down the white cardstock because it was still full 12 by 12 size. And I'm leaving it the same at the top of the layout, and then trimming a 1/4 inch on each side and a 12 inch or 1/2 inch on the bottom. And then I am going to go ahead and adhere this really well. This is just regular cardstock. I think it's Recollections brand. And so the mixed media, even though it wasn't too terribly wet, it did, of course, bend a little bit. And so having another layer of cardstock behind it will help make that more secure. I'm gonna add just a few more pieces of foam tape here because I felt like the hexagon photo was kind of bending downwards. So that helped a lot. It now really, it stands up the way it should, I think. Just those little tiny details, right, that make a little bit of difference. So I mentioned that I had cut out some of the word strips from one of the pattern papers. And what I'm going to use those for is kind of a different embellishment clusters around the page, leading your eye up to the top. And so underneath the photo, first of all, I'm using the first word art, and I'm layering it on top of that cute little scarf. And I added a little floral. And then the other two, they're kind of just gonna float. But even though they look like they kind of float, the hexagons help ground them and provide another opportunity to use some of these adorable little embellishments and die cuts and things like that. So for the second one there, I'm going to use the little flower, and I'm also going to include this little bird right here. He's going to talk to Maisie a little bit. That adorable little bird. And then these darling tiny little snowflakes. They're just black on white. I'm going to use those around the layout as well. You could, of course, use stamps as well if you wanted to, just to add a little black and white to the layout. And it actually reminded me that I need a little bit more black in the layout. I feel like just because the colors in the pattern papers are already kind of light, and so they almost get lost in all the white of the background. And so we're going to do a couple of things to help tone that down a little bit. And the black and white snowflakes is one way to do that. And then for my journaling, I decided to do a really simple, just a couple of lines here underneath the photo. This has been my go-to journaling for a long time, using just some old line stamps from Paisley Press from my stash, and my date stamp underneath the title. And that just makes a nice little place to write a few sentences about Maisie and her experience in the snow that day. Like I mentioned, she really wanted to eat the snow, but she also found she has an incredible nose, an incredible sense of smell, and of course she is a retriever. And she found somebody's old Bojangles food in the snow, 3 inches down. She dug it out. So yeah, life with a puppy is pretty hilarious, but she had fun digging that out and digging whatever else out that she could find. And she rolled around in that snow and just had a great time. I'm not really sure what I'm thinking about here. I am paused for a minute, but then I realized that another thing I can do to help bring in some more black into this layout and help ground these seemingly floating hexagons is to take that line stamp and create lines, stamp lines in between these hexagons. And so that's exactly what you see me doing here. I'm just adding ink to a part of those lines and stamping kind of randomly. I ended up going around most of the hexagons. I think somewhere along the way, some of the embellishments kind of blocked the line stamp a little bit, and that's okay. It's really rough stamping, you can see, and I didn't really spend a lot of time making sure it was perfect or anything. It just, because it's supposed to go along with the mixed media feel of the layout and that background. I'm sorry, I keep getting my head in your view there, but trying to get the lines set up in the top part of the layout just makes my head come into view sometimes. But I really am loving how this looks and how this all came together as I'm finishing up the line stamps around the hexagons. I'm realizing that it probably still needs a little something around the edges of the white cardstock as well. Even though we already have the pink border established. So what I'm going to do is use this handy line stamp again and stamp a couple of corners here. Just some kind of almost like photo corners in the lower left and the upper right hand corner here. I'm just going to do 2 sets of lines in each corner. Thank you so much for watching today and for following along with my process. I will have links down below, of course, for how you can sign up and subscribe for the Color Rush Studio kits. And as always, I hope to see you back here again real soon. Bye-bye.